There's a secret language that instantly separates the respected from the ignored. It has nothing to do with what you say, how loud you are, or trying to be the most popular person in the room. Actually, it's the opposite. It's a silent language, a set of unspoken rules that signals authority and confidence before you even say a word. You've felt it before. Someone walks into a room, and the entire energy just shifts. They command attention without demanding it. When they speak, people listen. Their opinions have weight, and their presence is felt even when they're silent. Meanwhile, other people can talk and talk, but their words seem to just evaporate, completely ignored. What if I told you this isn't some gift you're born with? It's a skill, a set of behaviors you can learn. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the 7 cold, but brutally effective rules that will make you the most influential person in any room. This isn't about being unkind or arrogant. It's about self-mastery. Master these, and you will never be overlooked again. Let's be honest. The world is a noisy place. Everyone is fighting for attention, trying to be heard, trying to prove their worth. We're often taught to be agreeable, to be liked, to just fit in. But in the race to be liked, we often give up something way more valuable: respect. Respect isn't just handed over, it's earned. And it's usually earned not through loud actions, but through quiet, deliberate control. We're calling the behaviors we're about to break down cold, because they require a bit of emotional detachment. They demand that you act from a place of logic and self-control, not impulse and neediness. They are the subtle signals that tell the world you respect yourself. And therefore, you must be respected by others. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding human psychology and social dynamics. These rules work everywhere: the boardroom, your social circle, even your personal relationships, because they're based on how we instinctively perceive strength and authority. We're going to break down each of these 7 unspoken rules. We'll look at the broken psychology that makes people ignore you. And then I'll give you the powerful mindset shifts and specific actions you can take to command the respect you deserve. So, if you're ready to stop being a background character and start being the person whose presence actually matters, let's begin. Rule number 1. Master the power of stillness and the strategic pause. The first, and maybe the most powerful, unspoken rule of respect is mastering stillness. In a world addicted to instant reactions and frantic energy, the person who can stay calm, composed, and deliberate instantly signals power. Think about how most people act. In a conversation, they're not really listening, they're just waiting for their turn to talk. In an argument, their first instinct is to get defensive, raise their voice, and react immediately. When asked a question, they rush to fill the silence, afraid of looking unsure. This is powerless behavior. It signals that you're reactive, not in control. It tells everyone you're on their emotional timetable, not your own. The person who commands respect does the exact opposite. They use stillness. This comes in 2 forms: physical stillness and verbal stillness. Physically, this means no fidgeting. People with high respect signals don't jiggle their leg, tap their pen, or constantly shift their weight. Their movements are controlled and purposeful. This projects an aura of unshakable calm. It's a nonverbal cue that says, I'm not rattled, I'm not anxious, I am in complete control of myself in this situation. The second part is verbal stillness. And the best way to use it is the strategic pause. When someone challenges you or asks a tough question, fight the urge to answer right away. Instead, take a second, hold eye contact, let the silence hang in the air. This small act does a few incredible things. First, it shows you're not triggered. Second, it makes your answer feel more thoughtful and deliberate. The silence builds anticipation and gives your words more weight. Third, it can subtly shift the power dynamic in your favor because you are controlling the pace of the conversation. Here's how to apply it. Imagine you're in a meeting and a colleague criticizes your idea. The low respect response is to jump in, get defensive, and talk over them. You'll just sound flustered. The high respect response? Listen to their entire critique without interrupting. When they finish, say nothing. Hold their gaze, calmly, for 2 full seconds. Your expression is neutral. In that silence, everyone in the room leans in. Then, after that pause, you respond. Maybe you say, that's an interesting point. Let me address the budget concern. Your response, coming after that moment of silence, will have 10 times the impact. You didn't just respond, you controlled the entire interaction and showed you're unflappable. That is the power of stillness. Rule number 2. Communicate with clarity and economy. The second unspoken rule is to speak less but make every word matter. Respect doesn't go to the person who talks the most, it goes to the person whose words have the most weight. In a culture of overcommunication and rambling, using language economically is a superpower. So, what's the behavior that kills respect? It's using 10 sentences when one would do. It's rambling, repeating yourself, and using filler words like, ah, and, like. This often comes from insecurity, hoping that a mountain of words will hide a weak point. This screams a lack of confidence. It tells the listener that the speaker isn't even sure of their own message. So why should anyone else be? People who talk constantly often do it because they're uncomfortable with silence and want validation. They become noise, and people learn to tune them out. The person who commands respect speaks with intention and precision. They contribute because they have something meaningful to say. This isn't about being rude, it's about being efficient. Psychologically, this works because of scarcity. When something is rare, we see it as more valuable. When you speak less, people learn that when you do speak, it's worth listening to. You become a signal in the noise. Powerful leaders are often known for being brief. Their instructions are clear and direct, which removes confusion and projects authority. Here's how to practice this. First, before you speak, ask yourself, is what I'm about to say true? Is it necessary? Is it clear? If the answer is no, consider staying quiet. Second, practice cutting filler words. Get comfortable with pausing to think instead of filling the air with ums and ahs. A silent pause makes you look thoughtful. A filler word makes you sound hesitant. Third, use direct language instead of a long, meandering opener like, I was sort of thinking that maybe. If it's not too much trouble, we could look at the possibility of changing the deadline. Try a clear, direct statement. The current deadline is unrealistic. I recommend we move it to Friday to ensure quality. The first is a plea. The second is a confident recommendation. Think about it. You're out with friends, and they're all gossiping. The low respect move is to jump in. The high respect move is to stay quiet and just listen. If asked for your opinion, you can say something brief like, I wasn't there, so I can't comment. This refusal to engage in low-value conversation instantly elevates you. It signals that you have standards for your words, which makes you seem more trustworthy. Rule number 3. Maintain emotional control and composure. Rule number 3 is maybe the hardest one to master. The absolute necessity of emotional control. In any situation, the person with the tightest grip on their own emotions holds the power. An emotional outburst is basically a confession of helplessness. It tells the world that someone or something else has taken control of your inner state. The common, low-respect behavior is emotional reactivity. This is the person who gets visibly angry in traffic, defensive at the first sign of criticism, or overly needy when things go their way. Their emotional state is a roller coaster dictated by outside events. While it's human, it's not the behavior of a respected leader. People don't trust or respect those they see as emotionally volatile, because volatility feels unsafe. The person who commands respect operates from a baseline of calm composure. This doesn't mean they're an unfeeling robot. It means they have a buffer between an emotional trigger and their response. They feel the anger or frustration, but they don't let it drive their actions. Their composure under pressure is a powerful statement that says, I can handle this. The psychology here is primal. In a crisis, we look to the calmest person for leadership. By maintaining your composure, you become a source of strength for others, and they will be drawn to your stability. This earns not just respect, but trust. So, how do you cultivate this? First, develop self-awareness. Recognize your emotional triggers. When you feel that first jolt of emotion, your goal isn't to suppress it but to notice it without acting on it. A simple internal thought like, I feel anger, but I won't be ruled by it, can be incredibly powerful. Second, use your body to control your mind. When you feel a strong emotion, focus on your breathing. Take one slow, deep breath before you speak or act. This can short-circuit the body's fight or flight response. Let's use a professional example. You just got passed over for a promotion you wanted. The low respect reaction is to storm into your boss's office or complain to coworkers. You'll be seen as unprofessional. The high respect approach? Process the disappointment privately. Once you're calm, you schedule a meeting. You walk in and say, I was disappointed about the promotion, but I respect the decision. I'm committed to growing here, and I'd appreciate any feedback on what I can do to be a stronger candidate next time. This response is incredibly powerful. It shows maturity, accountability, and a commitment to self-improvement. You've proven that even in disappointment, you are a leader. That is the power of composure. Rule number 4. Hold yourself and others accountable. The fourth rule is all about radical accountability. This is a two-sided coin. You have to hold yourself accountable for your mistakes without excuses. And you have to be willing to hold others accountable for their actions. Calmly and respectfully. In a world full of blame shifting, the person who takes ownership becomes a pillar of integrity. The typical, low-respect behavior is to deflect blame. When a project fails, it was someone else's fault. When they're late, it was the traffic. This behavior destroys trust. People quickly learn that this person is unreliable. You can't respect someone you can't trust. On the other side is the person who's afraid to hold others accountable. They see a teammate slacking and say nothing. This is often disguised as being nice, but it's really rooted in a fear of confrontation, which signals weakness. If you don't respect your own standards, why would anyone else? The person who commands respect practices accountability consistently. When they make a mistake, they own it, fast, without drama. A simple, "That was my mistake, I apologize, and here is how I will fix it," is one of the most powerful things you can say. It instantly ends the blame game and builds a foundation of trust. People don't lose respect for those who make mistakes, they lose respect for those who lie about them. At the same time, they hold others to clear standards, not with anger, but with calm, direct communication. If a colleague keeps missing deadlines, they address it directly and privately. They might say, "John, I've noticed the last 2 reports were late, which impacts the team. Is everything okay? What can we do to make sure the next one is on time?" This isn't an attack, it's enforcing the standard while treating the person with respect. The psychology behind this is rooted in our need for fairness and order. A person who embodies accountability is a predictable, reliable anchor. You know where you stand with them. Their yes means yes and their no means no. This consistency builds a powerful reputation for reliability, which is a cornerstone of respect. Start today. The next time you make a mistake, just own it, apologize and explain the solution. And the next time someone fails to meet a clear commitment, don't let it slide. Address it calmly and directly. You're not being cold, you're showing you operate with integrity. And integrity commands respect. Rule number 5. Be a listener who values others' input. The fifth rule might seem counterintuitive, but it's essential for earning deep respect. Listen more than you speak and genuinely value others' input. In a world of people desperate to share their own opinions, the person confident enough to just listen and understand becomes incredibly influential. The common low-respect behavior is being a conversational narcissist. This is the person who pretends to listen but is just waiting to jump in with their own story. They interrupt, finish people's sentences, and give unsolicited advice. Their goal is always to steer the conversation back to themselves. This communicates a profound lack of respect. It says, "What I have to say is more important than what you have to say." The person who commands respect practices active, empathetic listening. They listen to understand, not just to reply. When someone else is speaking, they give them their full attention. Phone away. Open body language. They make eye contact and ask clarifying questions like, "So if I'm understanding you right, your main concern is..." This type of listening makes the other person feel valued and heard. The psychology here is simple: reciprocity. When you give someone the respect of your full attention, they feel compelled to respect you back. You are satisfying a deep human need, the need to be understood. Plus, being secure enough to listen without dominating the conversation signals incredible confidence. It shows you aren't threatened by other people's ideas. Here's how to practice this. In your next conversation, Make it your goal to learn something from the other person, not to teach them something. And here's a mental rule. Don't offer advice unless it's explicitly asked for. Imagine you're leading a brainstorming session. The low-respect leader presents their idea and then asks, "Anyone else?" essentially shutting down real input. The team learns their ideas aren't really wanted. The high-respect leader does the opposite. They might start by saying, "We have a challenge. Before I share my thoughts, I want to hear from all of you." They facilitate, listen intently, and build on others' ideas. Only after everyone has spoken do they offer their perspective. This leader doesn't just get better ideas, they earn fierce loyalty. Listening isn't passive, it's a strategic tool of influence and a profound act of respect. Rule number 6. Project confidence, not arrogance. The sixth rule is mastering the fine art of projecting confidence without tipping into arrogance. Confidence is quiet and self-assured. Arrogance is loud and needy. The world respects one and despises the other. The low-respect behavior is arrogance, which usually comes from deep insecurity. The arrogant person constantly announces their achievements, name drops, and belittles others to feel superior. They're trying to convince others, and themselves, of their own value. Arrogance is a mask, and most people see right through it. Just as bad as the other extreme, a visible lack of confidence. This person apologizes for everything and uses hesitant language. Their non-verbal cues say they don't believe in themselves, which makes it impossible for others to believe in them. The person who commands respect has a quiet, authentic confidence. It's based on knowing their own worth, not on comparing themselves to others. They don't need to announce their strengths because their actions speak for them. This quiet confidence is projected mostly through body language. They stand tall, with open and expansive posture. They take up space comfortably. Their eye contact is steady and direct. These are all silent ways of broadcasting self-assurance. Psychologically, this quiet confidence is magnetic. Humans are drawn to certainty. Arrogance creates resentment, but true confidence inspires trust. Here's how to cultivate this quality. First, stop seeking external validation. Let your work speak for itself. The less you need applause, the more genuine respect you'll get. Second, practice complimenting others, even rivals. An arrogant person tears down their competition. A confident person has no problem acknowledging the strengths of others. Saying, "Sarah did an excellent job on that presentation," shows you're so secure in your own abilities that you aren't threatened by someone else's success. It's a massive power move. Third, embrace your shortcomings without shame. Arrogance pretends to be perfect. Confidence knows it isn't. Being able to say, "I'm actually not very good at that," or laughing at your own mistake, shows an incredible level of self-acceptance and makes you seem more competent and human. Confidence isn't about telling everyone you're the best. It's about knowing your worth so you don't have to. Rule number 7. Set and enforce boundaries without apology. Our final, and perhaps most crucial, rule is to set firm boundaries and enforce them calmly and without apology. Your boundaries are invisible lines that teach people how to treat you. If you have no boundaries, you're silently telling the world that your time, energy, and well-being aren't valuable. The low-respect behavior is being a people pleaser. This is the person who says yes to everything, even when it hurts them. They're terrified of saying no because they fear being disliked. They tolerate disrespect, sarcastic comments, broken promises, just to avoid conflict. This doesn't earn love, it earns exploitation. People pleasers are often the most disrespected people because their lack of boundaries signals a profound lack of self-respect. The person who commands respect has clear, well-defined boundaries. More importantly, they are willing to enforce them. The key is to do it without anger or long explanations, just calm, unapologetic finality. The psychology of boundaries is fundamental to all healthy relationships. When you set a boundary, you aren't being selfish, you are communicating your own value. You are teaching others the rules for interacting with you. People with clear boundaries create a sense of safety and predictability. You know where you stand with them. And while they may not always give you what you want, you'll always respect their consistency. Here's how to do this effectively. First, define your boundaries for yourself. What is and isn't acceptable? This could be about your time. I don't take work calls after 7 p.m. Your emotional space. I don't participate in gossip, or how you're treated. I require people to speak to me respectfully. Second, learn to say no without a long excuse. A simple, thank you for the offer, but I'm not able to, is a complete sentence. The more you explain, the weaker your position becomes. Third, when a boundary is crossed, address it calmly and immediately. If someone makes a sarcastic joke at your expense, you don't have to laugh. You can pause, look at them, and say coolly, I don't appreciate that comment. Then move on. You don't need to escalate. The calm, direct statement is enough to enforce the boundary and tells everyone in the room you have a line. Think of a friend who's always 30 minutes late. The low respect response is to complain to other people but say nothing to the friend. The high respect response is to enforce the boundary. The next time you make plans, you could say, I'd love to see you. I'll be at the cafe at 2 p.m. But I have to leave by 2:45. You're not accusing them, you are simply stating your boundary. If they show up at 2:30, you have a nice 15-minute chat and leave at 2:45 as you said. They've now learned your time is not infinitely flexible. Setting boundaries is the ultimate act of self-respect. It's a silent declaration that you're the guardian of your own well-being. And when you respect yourself that deeply, others have no choice but to follow your lead. So, what's the common thread running through all these rules? It's self-control. Respect isn't something you can chase or demand. It's the natural result of self-mastery. It's about the quiet, calculated choices that demonstrate your discipline. These behaviors are called cold, not because they're unkind, but because they require you to step back from the heat of emotion and the constant need for approval. They require you to operate from your center, from a place of core confidence. This isn't an overnight change. It's a practice. Pick one of these rules to focus on this week. Notice the situations where you'd normally react in a low respect way, and consciously choose the high respect behavior instead. The journey to being respected by others always starts with the decision to fiercely respect yourself. Take control of your actions, and you will take control of how the world sees you. I want you to think about which of these rules hit home the most. Which one represents your biggest opportunity for growth? Go down to the comments and tell me the one rule you are going to start practicing today. I read every comment, and I want to hear about your journey. And of course, if you got value from this and want more no-nonsense guides to building confidence and influence, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Each week, we break down the psychology of power and charisma to help you become the strongest version of yourself. Thanks for watching.